Husky. I wanna scream for the G.O.P. I wanna sit with
TC and Jake.
They boxed him out.
Who?
Let's go.
Oh, yeah, it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate, but we witnessed a new chapter dawning in American history, and I think that I looked on with many of the same emotions, feelings, and questions as the rest of America, which is primarily, when will it be a new chapter in Cowboys history? When will Jerry, the owner, fire Jerry, the GM? If they got a football man in here,
Right.
maybe that would solve some problems.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't know, TC. I don't know when Jerry, the owner, will fire Jerry, the GM.
I mean, can Biden do something about this?
And now they're picking over our corpses with interviews for Bones Fossil and Kellen Moore. The fuck?
They can have Nolan.
They can. You know, it's funny.
Who's interviewing more? Head coach?
Eagles, yeah, they interviewed last night. They requested, were granted, and he interviewed.
I'm just laser focused on Bears football.
Well-
Marcus Freeman hiring is the coach hiring I want to talk about.
But they're not moving on, though, right?
What do you mean?
What are they? Marcus Freeman for...
We got him as the DC.
Okay.
We hired away Cincinnati's DC. Do you remember him when he was
I was going to say,
a fearsome competitor for the Buckeyes?
I remember the name, but he's a guy I might have forgot.
You might have forgot.
I might have forgotten.
I mean, he was good at Ohio State. I think he was on that team that got trounced by Florida. Do you remember? That is such a fascinating point in football history, that game in particular, just because the tone set in that game of these boys from the South just play a different brand carried through really just about until now. I mean, you know, Ohio State has kind of gotten back up to where they're considered about the same. You know, I mean, they just did some things to Clemson that everyone was fairly impressed by. But going into that game, this sucks for Florida that they got to be a sacrificial lamb to this juggernaut that Jim Tressel has built. I mean, the way that they're going to be able to pound the ball, how can anyone compete?
Who was their quarterback at the time?
Troy Smith won the Heisman.
Troy Smith, there you go.
And Marcus Freeman, I believe, was part of that defense. It was the year after the Hawk, Schlegel, Carpenter linebacking core.
With Brady's sister.
That's Hawk, yeah.
Involved.
Yeah, that's her husband.
No, it's my favorite brand of content right now is other NFL dysfunction that doesn't make me think about the Cowboys, and there's a fucking lot of it, so that's good.
But none of it as bad as the Cowboys.
No, I would say the thing we were talking about the other day, the Easterby thing, is easily as bad or funnier.
It would be so fucking tight if Jerry finally was like, all right, yeah, you know what? I think you guys got a point. I'm hiring a GM.
It's Joel Osteen.
It's the team chaplain for the South Carolina women's basketball team. Enjoy.
Or what's the guy's name at, is that my phone?
No, it's my phone.
Oh, I was going to say, my phone, I did have the ringer on briefly because I had a big high-level phone call to take. That's something I fuck up now. If I ever have to turn the ringer on, which is never, but if it does happen, never remember to turn it off.
Yeah,
I just assume it's always off.
I've been trying to leave my ringer on.
That's quite a... awesome, dude. That rocks. Yeah, I think that's really cool, man.
I just want to let that hang a little, let you interpret it.
Yeah, sure. Totally.
No, I set the text tone to, have you seen the Matthew McConaughey whiskey commercial?
I have.
Yeah, that's what the text tone is.
It's
now.
like when Rye and something meet at the lake, or
Mesquite
and Rye meet at the lake.
They got a party at the lake house. I'd go.
No, but the Texans thing is great. All that shit is hilarious.
I do like the Texans thing.
The Eagles thing is great. That's pretty funny.
I mean, you know, that's just kind of regular.
No, it's not, dude. Benching a dude who...
It's regular Eagles. Like how is this different than Andy Reid? A thing that has happened this decade.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've been dotted with more success, right? I mean, they made a Super Bowl under Reed and they won one under Peterson once, Carson was out. But dude, the benching a dude who's making I don't really give a fuck about any of this. So there's no need.
I thought you were a sports talk show host.
This is my reprieve from that. Especially on this big day. This big day where I learned something about myself. Watching all the information I took in today, and what I learned is I'm pretty bummed out that you beat me to the stuffed crust papa.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the box in there and was thinking, fuck.
Yeah, no, we had me and Alex had a brainstorming session yesterday, and what are we gonna do except
fire the neurons with stuffed crust.
Yeah. Just kind of trading slices back and forth. It's great.
Some people microdose.
Because
I haven't even had the
regular
papadilla.
stuffed crust. The papadilla, I'm firmly against.
Okay, I mean,
tortillas are better than pizza crusts. I'm not sure if I can get you with me on that one, but that is what I believe. The pizza crust, it's too dry, like the way it comes down on the papadilla.
So what are you saying? Tortillas are better than pizza crust?
Like, it's a quesadilla, but with pizza crust.
Oh, okay.
So like that's a downgrade.
They're cribbing the.
I would rather
fold
just
of
have a
the-
quesadilla.
Yeah. Okay.
And I live in an area where that's pretty easy to do.
Yeah. I tell you what I did the other night for the first time in a long time is I had a fucking calzone.
Oh,
Love a calzone,
yeah,
man. Absolutely love a calzone.
And that Palio's near your place. That's a quality calzone emporium.
I'm going to go Polio's.
I don't care.
We've had this debate. Because
No,
my wife says Paleo's.
There's no way we've had a debate because I can't imagine myself expressing a strong opinion.
Yeah, debate might have been a little
Whatever you
heavy-handed.
want to call it's fine. I'm not going to remember what you wanted me to call it next time. So that's kind of where it stands.
The problem with the calzone is it's tough to find a situation on your play sheet where that's the call. Because if you go in somewhere by yourself, like whenever I was, let's say, when I was in college, but even like when you're single, like if you have 20 minutes.
Cowboys didn't have a GM back then either.
Thank you. To pop into a pizza place, maybe that's an order for you.
Yeah.
But if you're ordering food, like let's say you're ordering from your non-chain local restaurant and it's just you and one other person, or let's even say it's a couple couples hanging out.
You could split a calzone. You don't want to split a calzone?
Come on, man.
What if it's a big one?
They're all big.
Yeah.
They're all made for me. Big boy calzone, man.
I feel like sometimes I could split a calzone.
Nah, but you're going to be left wanting. That's 2 hours later where you're like, did we even eat?
I mean,
good.
Maybe I'm just a smaller guy than you.
Yeah,
so
maybe.
I'm just not as hungry.
Dude, and that's, look, it's one of those weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, I'm with the child by myself this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Which means I'm getting 2 pizzas for myself Friday night. Yeah. I'm ramping up.
I don't know. Like, are you going to eat 2 pizzas by yourself, like, in succession as they arrive?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Again, this is part of like, this is long toss for me.
No, this is frustrating because you got the I'm going to do it again on tape. And then the 2 days later, buddy, there's no way I'm going to do it. I accept my defeat. I tried to, and it failed utterly. It was not on tape.
Right.
So the listener still thinks that the state of play is that Jake's sure that he can eat 3 pizzas. And now you're picking it up like you didn't say that you had thrown in the towel. But I know. I was there. I heard it with my ears. You threw in the towel. What's going on here, bud?
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing, though. Don't you think when Alex Smith, when he looked down at his leg and saw that, there were moments where he's like, I can't do this. And he told everyone around him, I can't do this. And the next day,
Probably
he was
not.
like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm back out here. I'm going to keep grinding. I'm going to make it to the playoffs than not play in the playoff game. Which is arguably the saddest sports note that I've heard in a long time.
What if a child died?
As part of a game? Like, walk me through the machinations here. Like, someone's pegged with a pass in the stands, or they accidentally played a baby at safety, or what's the...
Could get hit by a foul ball.
Yeah.
Could have a reprieve of a Bloody Sunday situation. British Army opens fire on the crowd. Possibility.
Oh, that is sports, isn't it?
It was in a sporting
sports.
match. It was in a sporting match. Could be that it's a Little League World Series. Heart explodes.
What happened there?
I mean, just born with
A heart
deformed
exploded in the
heart.
Little League World Series?
No, I'm just saying it could happen. You're asking me how could a child die in a sporting event?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm saying, you're chugging around second, just pop.
I have some Lubbock news for you.
Oh, yeah, okay. That is normally when we do this.
That's right. And this probably could have
About
counted
10 minutes in. A
as
little late
Easter
to it,
baskets,
honestly.
but so a dentist in Lubbock was
Timeout.
yeah.
Has he operated a gambling ring at any point?
At the advice of my attorney, I'm not going to comment on anything related to gambling or rings or operating.
Or Lubbock dentists?
I'm simply going to read what is in the news and tell you that I knew some people that know this guy.
Hell yeah, okay.
That's as far as I'm willing to go. Lubbock dentist. Another criminal charge filed today against this dentist.
You just can't stay straight.
Accused of grooming children for sexual abuse.
Oh, no, Jake.
41 years old, charged Wednesday with sexual performance.
How did you hold this in?
I just found out.
Oh, my God. Oh, I need a moment.
So there's a warrant alleging that the dentist gave a sex toy to two teenagers, touched their buttocks without consent.
Females?
No.
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 That's a shock.
No. There's a ton of info in the court filing.
God, I hope so.
Sending in, asking for nudes over Snapchat. Took one of them who I think at that time might have been 17 on a hunting trip and tried to get him drunk. The other one, these are the two that have come forward, was 13. Provided adult sexual devices to 3 underage males, including a 13-year-old, blah, blah, blah. And on top of that, if I'm his attorney, I'm looking at this and saying he was doing Q recon.
Mm-hmm.
He was at the Capitol.
Oh, the dentist was at the Capitol?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, dude.
Yeah.
Stop everything.
Yeah, I mean...
Just, all right. I need it, just read it all back. Just pretend like we haven't said anything so far. It was coming at me so fast that I just washed over too quick.
Yeah, so
We got a dentist.
I knew some guys who knew this guy.
From Lubbock.
Right. Whenever they lived in Lubbock, he might have been like a part of their fraternity, like an older frat brother. This is probably over 10 years ago now for sure.
But
obviously.
a legendary
12
figure
years, 13 years ago.
in the circle.
For reasons that were not related to
Often
underage
mentioned,
males.
like
Yeah.
it's not like he knew him and whatever, he comes back up and you're like, actually, I think that we knew that guy. No,
Yeah.
I would say certainly on an annual basis over the course of our friendship, he's been referenced.
Yeah.
And
The
this
dentist.
man,
He was the dentist.
this man went to stop the steal. And then I presume in the course of a stop the steal investigation, they were like, he's also touching butts.
That I don't know. I mean, I've seen a photo of him, which I assume one of my friends culled from his social media since they were friends with him on social media, where he is clearly, unless it's like a Photoshop, and fuck it, I don't think this is an allegation. He's at the Capitol. He's got a MAGA hat on and he's at the Capitol.
Yeah.
That's not listed in any of the news stories.
Okay.
It's just because they know the guy.
Yeah.
And so whenever a friend who knew this guy was texting me, he's like, holy shit, the dentist got busted for pedophilia. How do they say it? Pedophilia.
I think it's just pedophilia.
But you've always said it like the Brit free porno guy does. Because don't British people say like pedophilia?
Pederast is the...
Pederast. Okay, I knew they had some sort of a funky
That's a
twist
person
on it.
who commits pedophilia, but I think it's still
But they don't say
pedophilia.
pedophile the way that we do. They say pederast.
Yeah, he's a pederast.
Which makes it sound like way more like auto racing.
See, I was
related.
thinking it means that he raises dragons.
See, pederast to me sounds like someone who races go-peds.
Okay. British person who races go-peds. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that guy, who again is 41 at the time, so I guess whenever I was somewhat aware of him, he must have been 28 because I was like at the end of college.
Yeah.
And And I had some buddies who were, before we lived together in San Marcos, lived in Lubbock, and, we're friends with them. And in addition to that, some guys that we know that listen to this podcast that are, I want to say, late 20s. So they're like the next wave of dudes who lived in Lubbock who might have been in fraternities. They know him really well too.
Yeah, he didn't stop hanging out.
No.
At the college.
No. And
was he arrested at the frat house? Does it say that in the story?
It doesn't. And to your original question, I don't know if showing up at a public place where a large crime is being committed, I don't know if that like spurned the parents into action, or if, you know what I mean? I have no idea.
Probably unrelated. The more I think about it,
definitely all hit within 2 days.
Yeah,
like that was Wednesday. This was sent to me on Thursday. So not the welcome home from the insurrection you want.
I mean, he probably thought he'd be welcomed as a conquering hero who had stopped the steal.
Right. Which, frankly, at certain points of history, conquering heroes were probably actually rewarded with young boys.
Yeah. Roman times, the Greeks.
I feel like I always just say Rome and Greece, but I don't have any idea if that's true. Or
I mean, you would assume that other lesser empires of the time were not, conducting business differently.
Right, but I guess I mean more like further back in history. Like, do we have some sort of a...
When was the invention of boy sex? That's your question?
Kinda.
I mean, they were probably doing it in the caves. Probably goes back before recorded human history. So there's a lot of things where I'm like, how do we ever learn how to do this? Like smoking anything. Like whoever like compiled like, this plant, if you smoke it, it'll fuck you up. This one, I tried it. Doesn't do anything. Right, a lot of... That's crazy.
Yeah, I thought you meant the process of actually smoking something.
People in the butthole, that seems pretty straightforward. I figured they figured that one out day one.
Yeah. Yeah, which calls into question at what point did the morality of it's not okay for you and these people, because that seems pretty just self-evident as well.
The answer is a couple hundred years from now, I believe.
Well, it's not like a rampant societal problem.
I know, you're right.
But it was also
the dentist was doing it. So.
Yeah, and allegedly. And
hasn't sunk in for him.
I continue to think, and we'll get to some Stop the Steal Jenna Ryan audio here in a minute. As each day goes by, and I hear like, Katie Couric talking about QAnon, like, I can't really wrap my head around something that 4-5 years ago, you and I were like, isn't this weird? Is now like basically the opposition party to the government. So,
or, we'll see.
I don't buy that most of the people that were there
like
that
they
day
were turning in their gear today.
Love that. Love the leader on 8kun being like, guys, we fought him all the way.
I think we
have a new president now, so...
I think that was the guy's... the reply all, I believe, landed on Jim Watkins is Q. And I think the Ryan Watkins is his kid, right? Did you listen to that reply all?
No.
Oh, well...
I thought it was queued out, to be honest with you.
Should have.
I will if you say I should.
There's a lot of things that, it's just telling you who Q is. Seems like if you read anything about it... Who Q is seems like one of the important pieces of information to digest.
Man, I would maybe. I would say that at some point it sprawled out to becoming like not really. I'm way more interested in like the fact that your neighbor.
Yeah, I know. I understand.
On a shield,
but still, it spread out from where? From this man, Jim Watkins. And it's his kid. So it could be like a rift between the two of them, where Jim's like, "Fuck it, full steam ahead," like still posting his Q.
When Steven wanted to trade for Dion. And they had to, that's the one where he threw him up against the wall,
I thought Steven didn't want Dion.
You may be right. That was my first inclination, but then I thought...
Because I thought that like he was like he started out as the contract guy, and like the contract with Dion, he was like, this is a terrible fucking idea. And Jerry was like, oh yeah? That
was my first instinct, but then I thought, why would they have let that story take on such... lore if it
because it happened and they're not especially shrewd. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess it worked kind of.
Did you see one with him. He weighed in
Lil Wayne?
Yeah, Lil Wayne.
He wrote a letter.
Lil Wayne. Yeah. It's beautiful.
And it's fucking tired now to be like, and I do feel like we were pretty early on in the every day is a cultural Mad Lib. But but if you were to rewind 10 years and say President Donald Trump.
Deion Sanders seeking a pardon from President Trump for Lil Wayne.
No, you'd be like, this book is broken. I got a dud.
You got to make it make sense.
Right. I got to get something in here that could possibly be feasible. No, yeah, I don't know if he got investigated because of his appearance there or not. I just know that you
just know he's touching kids and the authorities have found out about it.
Yeah, and of course Lubbock is not like, this is
so if you're looking to get down something for the NFC Championship game, go elsewhere.
I could hypothetically be saying that, but I don't. That's not listed in any affidavits or court filings. And all I know is that the freezer at my house now doesn't have a notebook in it.
So you were mentioning court documents there, which sparked something in my head. I'm not sure if it's a good use of the podcast or not, but it will be brief. I would really like a police report from the Houston Police Department. And I think if I read the case number out here, maybe someone could get it for me. What do you think?
I mean, why not?
Okay, it's one.
You asked for people to take to the airport once. That worked.
What, did I take them to the airport? Oh, yeah, that was great. That was a lucrative.
Hey, there's no sign out here that says no solicitation. Pro solicitation.
So
for a long time, I thought that actually meant, like, once I learned that solicitation was used in terms of prostitution.
You thought the sign was like,
for a good 4 or 5
keep
years.
walking.
Yeah, I'm like, damn. It must have been rampant before the sign.
Yeah. Just ladies knocking on the door like, hey, let me suck it,
Taco
please.
Bell.
Please. All right, here's the case number. 157-805-001010-3. Looking for Texas v. Cornwall. If anyone can get me the police report, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
You got to give us a little bit of background.
It's a Excel classmate who committed armed robbery. He's going to be in jail until 2035.
When did that happen?
18, I think. 2018.
You're just trying to go do a window love visit? Give him the fist bump?
No, I just want to know what happened. I just want to read the report because I know he committed an armed robbery, but I assume that there's, a lot of different flavors of armed robbery. I mean, and, he was a cool guy. I liked him. I mean...
Well, but before the threatening people's lives...
Yeah.
It's an armed robbery, so I would...
And, it's one of those things where, like... this is hard because... Like, you definitely want to be, like, sticking to what they did was wrong, that school was a mistake, it's a moral stain on anyone who participated. All of that is absolutely true. But, like, there are people where, like, I bet that in retrospect they appreciated having some structure and some, yeah. And I don't know. He was great there. Like, he was a really cool guy. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but like
he didn't rob you with weapons.
Well, I mean, it was much more than that. He was a warm person. Like, he was kind to me in a way that like other students like normally weren't. And like he was like he
might have been casing you.
No, I don't think so. But you had like there's definitely people where like you had a feeling like this person is probably going to commit serious crimes later at some point. I wouldn't say he was at the top of the list, but whenever I learned that he was in jail for armed robbery, it wasn't like I can't believe it.
I would think that would be kind of a select all copy paste.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess with anyone you can't be surprised, but like. My friend that I went to his wedding that like lives here and is an accountant now, if I had found out that he had done armed robbery, I would have been blown the fuck away. Like,
but wouldn't you say that that's probably more of the outlier than the general?
Yeah, but both groups have some size to them.
Okay. They're a plurality.
Yeah, and so, it's weird because like I don't know how to describe it because what I'm not saying like that the guy had trouble controlling himself while he was there or was violent while he was there.
You just knew.
But you do have like this kind of like, yeah, if he needed to commit armed robbery, he probably would.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I didn't go to a drug school. I went to your run-of-the-mill suburban mid-city school, but the times
There were criminals there too.
the times when people that were either, I would say if you go the range of 3 years older to 4 years younger than me, pretty much every time they've shown up in the news, I'm like, yeah, I pretty much knew that you were a news candidate, and it wasn't going to be for starting a program where we plant trees.
Yeah.
I had a pretty good feeling it was going to be, a wrong way on the freeway type
Helping
situation.
kids get back on track.
I knew. It's happened probably 5-6 times. I'm like, I can see that happening.
Yeah, no, I don't think that there's too many I can recall that was like a shock. Like the kids who passed or ended up in jail. Like I said, there are kids where I would have been shocked had that happened, but it hasn't happened to any of them.
Once upon a time, this is probably 7-8 years ago in IJB Past, we actually reviewed an episode of a prepper show. It might have just been called Doomsday Preppers.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, no, I
show
would have
had, like, 4 or
identified
5
her
different
as
versions.
very unlikely to end up in jail, but fairly likely to end up on a prepper show.
And if I remember correctly, a lot of gusto, not a lot of tactical. Like, she was not ready for it. She's like, this pack is a lot heavier than I expected it to be.
Oh, really? No, I mean, she's like...
She's like, what am I going to get, gas?
Army Reserve or something like that. I bet she could do it.
Dude, I've had my brother around long enough to know that...
Reserve doesn't mean much.
We don't have to... By extension, I think I'm allowed to be like, come on.
No, because your brother thinks that every single other person in the military that's not in the Marines, like... Yeah, I guess they did something. I don't know. If they'd like to have made an impact, they should have joined the Marines.
Fair.
And like, I'm not saying he's wrong at all. He has my support. Like, if he asked me to name what do I think is the most elite branch of the military, I would say the Marines. But that doesn't mean that people who like are in the Army Reserves can't lift a backpack. I'm pretty sure they make them lift a backpack.
I just remember, look, the idea of, as I learned on that show, of bugging out is quite an undertaking. And I remember her being like, whew, this is a lot.
Go watch it again. I thought that she was doing fine. Of my classmates who have appeared on reality television, there's that one, and then the I Survived. I'm sure that we talked about it. I don't think I brought in audio because it's not something that I wanted to stare at for a long time because it's pretty fucking dark.
Horrible, fantastic show.
Yeah, I don't think she was literally on I Survived, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
Because it was her just narrating through, and I had no idea this occurred, and it occurred before Excel. I would assume that there's a relationship between this occurring and her going to the school. But yeah, she like when she was like 8 or something, just got fucking abducted by a guy, taken to a cabin, and the things occurred that normally happen whenever you take 8-year-olds to cabins against their will, and it's fucking rough stuff. That was a tough reality television episode. Nope, not it. Not it.
So, speaking of the military, what branch do you think we're going to have control the re-education camps? Do I get a
Space
vote?
Force.
Yeah, they got nothing going on, right?
I saw that there was some Q thing floating around saying that Space Force was going to be kicking off the arrests. Like they were kind of in command of this thing.
Yep.
I like that. I mean, it makes sense.
I love the idea of the re-education camp from...
I love the idea of re-education
from
camps.
the Primavera,
Jake Kemp.
from Hannity Primavera, from Garlic Knot Sean. I love him putting that forward because I'm not even willing to have a conversation at like dinner with people who voted for Trump. So can you imagine trying to get all them to sit down in the yeah, I don't think.
No. Just think whatever you want to think.
Right?
Jesus
Yeah. Seriously,
Christ.
I've given up on trying to convince you like, of anything. So why would I ever possibly think that would? And like this is like less of a funny topic because this Jenna Ryan shit is absolutely hilarious. So that's my tease to stick around. But two things I was thinking about that are somewhat competing. Like tentpole type notions that, I think like I've heard Gordon talk about this for a long time, but he's certainly not alone.
Unlike Oswald.
I think I think I saw this tweet a couple weeks ago, and it really made sense to me. And maybe we talked about this, and shit, I'm doing a lot of talking. But the whole like echo chamber, Twitter bubble, you're not interfacing with information that disagrees with yours, and how that affects your opinion, and we just don't listen to each other anymore. And the tweet said something like, "Yeah, I've heard every single argument that they have to make for 20 years, and I still disagree with all of them. So what is this like need? It's almost like prescribed as like a moral need to listen to what someone has to say. If it's like, look, you've been saying for a long time that trickle-down economics are the way to go. I don't think that. I think I have evidence to prove that
and like,
has widened.
Not only have you been saying it and like I've absorbed it and I get it,
right?
But like we fucking let you do it, dude.
That's you've been doing it. You have control over every lever of government except for Roseanne.
Like the
everything but Roseanne has gone your way. Everything but Roseanne and Mac Beggs has gone your way. And I'm like, I don't know why I need to hear more from, like, I get it. I know everything you have to say. And so the immediate follow-up to that, I would imagine if I were arguing with myself, someone would be like, all right, so you're just incapable of changing your opinions. And I would direct you to anybody who's listened to this podcast for 10 years and say, I have massively changed my opinion.
To disagree with you further.
Exactly. Like to even move further away from thinking that it makes sense to vote for center-right neoliberals.
I'm constantly shifting away from...
I get it now. Yeah. Look, I did an inventory and I agree.
Yeah.
None of the shit I thought 10 years ago makes any sense anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, is that like, but it's described as like, if you're in a bubble, then you're ignorant and you're just calcitrant. You can't you're unwilling to move. It's like, there's nothing to talk about with people who are, who basically, if you voted for Trump, there's literally almost nothing that I could say to you or you could say to me. And I don't think that makes either one of us dumb in that regard. Like, you know what I'm going to say too.
Yeah, no,
or maybe you don't. I'm not you, but I know what you're going to say.
And it's also like I'm just the guy, dude. Like, I'm not the president. I'm not a senator. I get a vote on who's going to be who's going to be representing me. That's the furthest extent I have participation in the process. And like I could watch a lot of Fox News and I probably still would continue to vote for the most left candidate that's on the ballot. So like, what is this? Where is this obligation to listen to the other side coming from? Why is it important why even is it important that I have balanced views? I mean, I guess if you have like a mass of the country that has unbalanced views, we can see the effects of that. But I don't know.
I think it's a general idea that in a utopian discourse scenario, that has like a contagion effect that causes people in general to be moved off of positions that they don't really possibly even fully understand themselves, and that could work both ways. Like that, because in my mind, I used to think like if you actually showed somebody, like for example, the hot riot, race riot that nobody knew about 2 years ago, if you actually showed somebody a 45-minute documentary on the Tulsa massacre, that would affect them in a way that might cause them to be like, well, shit, I guess I had not really considered how ingrained systemic racism is, but guess what? It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything. So it may change them for a day or two and speak in platitudes,
dude,
but you're just going to go back to the same shit.
But I mean, it's just like, people like the framework that I have thought about this in that I've adopted in the last, months, year, whatever, that I have found helpful is like, especially whenever the George Floyd protests are going on, and you got like the old guy in Buffalo that's like just doing nothing, and like the cops knock him over and his head bleeds out, and there's plenty of instances. We would see fucking 10 videos a day of someone who was doing nothing remotely wrong that got tased anyways, and I started with that process thinking like, geez, once everyone sees this, like it's gonna be over. And then you end it with just the understanding that they can see those same things, but they're not seeing what you're seeing. Sure. And, that they're that they see, this conflict of force, and like they want to be on the side that has the force, like that it is frightening to them to put themselves in the victim's shoes. So like they are not looking at that as like it sucks that this innocent person got tased. They're looking at it like, well, if that ever happens, I better fucking have that taser. And like just whenever you're like some people, like I think of it in the hammer nail axis, of like some people look at the hammer hitting the nail, and I mean this is always kind of taught stretched too far because like hammers and nails don't have feelings; they're objects. But like if you see a hammer hitting a nail, you can either be like, boy, that's fucked up, or be like, I'd better fucking be that hammer, and that so it's not like that if you just show them the right videos, which is what you're saying. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Yeah. It's not like if you show them the right videos that they are going to then like have this realization because they're interpreting those videos differently than you interpret them.
That's why I kind of wish that stuff like, and look, I'm going to basically prove my own point here. I kind of wish the case of the dude that DPD killed, white guy, year before last, I wish that would have almost been like able to be ushered into, and there would have been people who were certainly upset about this because white people are not killed at the same rate, not number, but rate as people of color. But that was fucking insane. Like the dude who was clearly mentally ill, and they're laughing about it, and they murdered the guy.
Yeah.
And I almost
he was the one that called them.
And I almost wish that would have been like pushed to the zeitgeist at the same time that like this summer, because maybe there's people that simply need to identify more, a
lot of people took that as like a counterexample where like I'm going to own the George Floyd protesters.
Like, no.
But I'm like, no, this is the one that I would like to fight about. Cops don't treat people right. Like the race aspect is bothersome, but the rate at which they kill white people is flatly unacceptable.
Yeah, and I think that also again
that makes it that like you don't like there is the race problem, so you don't want to like
it's a needle you have to thread a little bit.
Yeah, but like also it is somewhat distracting from like the primary issue, which is that police ought to have different attitudes about the people they're policing.
If your primary issue is talking about policing, yes. If your primary issue is talking about, obviously just general disparity in treatment from every single lever of power, then
yeah,
that one might not. But I just, but again, I think that goes to the idea that was not really what people were talking about. So that's not what they were showing you. But yeah, you kind of got into my second thing. And the first one is like, why would I need to have a conversation if I know everything. Like I grew up in this household. I went through, you go through school around your family, you're online, we all know everything each other have to say about these things. The second one, which you kind of touched on, is just, it's really been remarkable in the last week how hard the backward hustle obviously it all starts at the top, to just like, I was almost hoping that the outcome would have been that the GOP, the QGOP would have like wholesale been like, those are our people and that needed to happen. Because what they've done instead is we were infiltrated. Mm-hmm. We had
this is a classic Antifa maneuver.
Black Lives Matter people were in the crowd. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why you don't believe that.
Facial recognition.
We've heard that, or a few bad apple, or we've heard one of the craziest ones. And I think Jenna Ryan touches on it. People were so far in the back with the echo, they couldn't even hear what Trump was saying. So how could he possibly be like there? It's a fucking AV problem. Like, when clearly the whole thing is obviously born out of the 4+
and just
years
the twin of that, they saw the doors open and
right. They were basically
kind of thought it was a tour opportunity.
Yeah, so like that's what I mean
that
by
was stunning. I love that one.
So I don't really understand why we need to engage whenever neither one of us are going. We both know what each other are going to say. That's its own set of deals. And the second one is, why would we? If I get you don't want to look at this study from an economist that proves that 30 years across all developed nations that have engaged in top-down type economics has not worked and has generally widened the wealth gap. If you don't want to look at that, okay, that's nerd shit. I get it. You don't want to hear it. But if I can't convince you that these people wearing hats that say Donald Trump on them, that are throwing things through windows at the Capitol and walking in, if I can't convince you that they are his responsibility, why the fuck would we ever talk about anything? Like,
yeah.
And that's why I just feel like that let's have a conversation thing is so far past the point of having utility that, that in and of itself might be damaging. Because I think it makes people feel bad. Like, I think it makes people feel like, well, why am I not, am I closed-minded? It's like, no, you're not closed-minded. You're just right. And that applies to both, right? Like, that's what people think. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't think you can have the point that, like, acknowledging that we all are working with different facts while also encouraging people to have a discussion, because that's kind of the basis of the discussion, and that shit is just not happening.
Yeah, and I mean, there has been, like, this did move his approval ratings. Like, they are at the low now.
Still goes out higher than Bush.
Well,
to one of your favorite points from a couple months ago.
Say
Remarkable.
that's reflective of the record.
Remarkable. No, well, whatever. We've done that one already.
But, that was, I mean, it was very interesting. I kind of loved, like, I think it was the Washington Post recreation of events. Or no, it was the New Yorker one where their reporter that was walking around inside, and your neighbor that had the zip ties was like, it's a PR war, brother. Like, I love how, like, he understood that.
I.O.
Yeah. Well, he said both, I think.
Oh, this is an information operation. Like,
yeah.
But be respectful. We're in a hollowed place. Like, bro, there's a fucking guy
nerd.
with a Viking helmet on up there. Like, I think we're past that point a little bit.
But just he is like, he was nodding at the fact of, like, the world is watching here, like, and just so completely missed what the reaction was going to be. Like, he really thought that, like, if they just kind of, didn't, like, turn over the chairs, that everyone is going to be like, well, these valiant patriots had a point.
Yeah. That's about the most surreal 10, 12 minutes I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And in our text thread, yes, it was hilarious that they did not understand the term object. As they were reading through, like, the ledger of votes, like,
that was exceptional.
Cruz objects.
He
objects
sell us
to
out
Arizona.
the
He
whole
sold
time.
us out. And the one guy in the back's like, no. He objects. He's with us. They're like, oh, tight.
I mean, it does go,
like,
it just goes to show you
version.
like, what their default is, like, they just, like, they're low trust people. Like, this is, I think I don't know about it illustrates, but, like, further confirms that, like, the defining feature of, like, the problem here is low trust. Like, that at the point at which you think that everyone's out to get you, these are the actions that stem from there.
And perhaps you could continue that and say, my low trust of them is based in their low trust of anything.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to make it to the point where I'm somewhat culpable in this, I think people that operate from that caged animal mentality are not, there's not a ton to talk about or to trust on that front. So anyways.
Another angle on it, and then we can get to this general and stuff for sure. This is a brief thing. It's just, I was talking with a trusted confidant about the entire thing that had gone on. And they were making the point, and they've made this point to me several times before about just like the Republican mindset is about, everyone uses the word zero sum a lot, but like that is what's going on here a lot of times. Like they're
sure
the structure of their beliefs makes sense if you think that there are a finite number of good things in this world, and so if any good things go to another group, then they're being taken away from my group. And so like I have a politics that is dedicated to, like you just imagine the Democrats are constantly reaching in your pocket and giving to other people that you view as less deserving because, hey, they didn't put in the work. And so that kind of like that mindset, it just makes it so that you are primed for a stop the steal kind of thing.
Sure.
Like the idea that the other side is stealing from you is like the basis that's what informs all of your positions. And so whenever you're hitting home on like this, like given that, it should be unsurprising that the thing that gets them to the fucking Capitol, like pounding on the doors and ultimately breaking them down and going in, like it's not going to be over another kind of thing. It's going to be over, this is being taken from you.
Yes. It's basically playing to the overarching base instinct of that sort of thinking, because there are several different elements of this that could piss off a few people. Like maybe you're mad about affirmative action. Maybe you're mad about changes to the tax code, even though a lot of those people are probably benefiting from that. Maybe you're mad about teaching history differently. Maybe you're mad, but why don't I just take all that shit?
Yeah.
And I would just say that my general philosophy is anybody who's not you is taking something from you. And if I can frame that, then I don't really need you to know anything about like how the Paris Accords are going to change the way that your business. I just need you to constantly think anything that's taken from you.
Yeah.
Allowing for different spaces for trans people, that's taking from you because you're not trans. But that's probably not enough to get you to go. I need the fucking...
Yeah,
I need the 7-layer burrito to get
whatever
you
you want. They're gonna get it if you don't show up to defend it.
Especially Roseanne.
I mean, we didn't fight hard enough on that one, and we saw what happened.
Exactly.
We can't let it happen again.
That better be in the history books.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna make it.
So Jenna Ryan, who I am just absolutely captivated by right now, because of course a couple weeks ago, or God, dude, time. A couple weeks ago was Georgia. 1 week ago was the Capitol.
I mean, those were a day apart, so I think they'd be in the same week.
Oh my God.
The same week. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
It's Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So she's there on the 6th. On the 8th, I think it was, CBS posted an interview they did with her outside of her house after she had been released. She was arrested by the FBI. She gave like a 3-4 minute interview, which included I can't really talk about this because my attorney says I can't. And then she kept talking. Hilarious. Then she gave a 45-minute interview to NBC News.
Hell yeah.
45 minutes. And I think she was talking to, and is her name? The name escapes me. But she's...
Savannah Guthrie.
No, it wasn't Savannah Guthrie.
Samantha Bee.
No, that's a bad guess.
Charlotte Jones Anderson.
It doesn't matter. The point is, you're not dealing with a local news reporter who is here to just ask you a couple questions for a soundbite. You're dealing with a fucking dog.
Yeah, no, they took down Gaddafi.
And they know how to do it in a way where they are simply handing you the rope.
Yeah.
And asking you if you'd like to lynch yourself, to hang yourself here.
I don't have any further evidence that NBC News took down Gaddafi.
Yeah, I missed that one. But they are proverbially just letting her dig her own grave and doing it in a way that she doesn't seem to know. And that's like kind of the funnest version of interview.
You think that's ever happened to her before, where there's kind of a conversation where there's a level of it going on that's a little bit above her head?
I think that certainly, but I also think she's probably primarily surrounded by people that do not press much and are also not that intelligent. So not like this. So the first one, and again, it's very long, and she's sitting in a well-appointed, Frisco looking, home, and she's all done up and the whole thing is deliciously disgusting. And the first one is her
got the foyer where it's a 2-story house, but the first, whenever you walk in, there's no like rooms on the second story. It's just open.
The shot's too tight. Wouldn't surprise me though.
I feel confident.
Yeah, you're probably right. And the first one, again, much like not knowing what object means, you simply have to understand that in the historical records of possible attempts at revolution or at insurrections, this is the dumbest version possible.
When you got on that plane on
Yes.
January 5th,
Right.
what was in your mind? Why were you going to Washington? What did you want to accomplish?
Okay. So there was a very cute guy that I'm single. There was a very handsome man who invited me from Facebook.
How are you feeling about this so far, Jake?
She went to the Capitol at the behest of some dick.
But I just mean you
Single?
learning the news that in fact Jenna Ryan is single.
I don't love the federal charge, but
But I mean, kind of like with the perpetual Lohan talk, and doesn't Corby have someone specific to, or no, Dan, that you're not going to be able.
This is
to
my best
have
shot.
A clean shot at a prime, no charges, Jenna Ryan.
yeah, you're right. Cynthia McFadden is the interviewer, by the way. But yeah, this is my best shot, and especially since she didn't get the guy.
On to a flight. And, I'm kind of out there and, I'm very supportive of Trump online. I'm not afraid to share the election fraud. I don't overshare. I just know how to share properly.
Don't
online.
believe you.
Yeah, I need
And people kind of
confirmation
know to
from
come
other
to me
people.
because nobody else has the guts to share pro-Trump stuff and pro-election stuff.
Nobody.
So a cute guy invited me.
I have the guts to constantly annoy my family members. It's just it's bravery. It's valor is what it is.
It's a drill tweet.
Yeah.
I have the guts to post,
Yeah.
despite everyone telling me not to.
And I thought, well, maybe I'll go. I don't know him. And I'll get my best friend, Brian, to go with me. And my best friend is my bodyguard. And I said, sure. It was 2
Totally
days
normal for a
before
realtor
the
to.
Got a bodyguard.
event, and I thought,
You have a bodyguard.
We were wanting to go to the one in December anyway. And I've never been to a MAGA rally. So I remember, I always see all these MAGA rallies. And so I said, heck yeah, let's go. I mean, who wouldn't go and get on a private jet? And it was a risk
of
that
the
I decided
pandemic.
to take. And I kind of checked the guy out and made sure that, he wasn't a bad guy, and got on the plane, and it was better than I had imagined. He was adorable. And there was another adorable girl there too. And they ended up getting
dick.
together, darn it. So I didn't end up getting a guy, but I ended up,
I'll tell you what you ended up doing.
On the plane.
You ended up being arrested by the FBI. You didn't get the
As
guy,
it stands.
but
yeah.
what you got was a charge, multiple, that's probably going to put you in at least 6 months of jail.
I think for the purposes of my screenplay, I'm going to need to understand, she's just putting a lot on this, right?
Yeah.
Like she's kind of interpreting this invite as that the guy's interested. And I'm wondering, is he was his plan from the start, I'm going to invite a number of ladies and we'll just see how this works out for me.
Right.
Or is he like,
Kind of a mag orgy.
I've got this chick, but like this other guy, I mean, she seems cool. She'd be good for the vibes,
Yeah.
like no interest, I've got this thing,
We all have friends like that.
but good for the vibes.
Right.
Yeah, probably not central importance, but I want to know.
Brian, 4 like-minded, 5, forgive me for my numbers. We had a group of like-minded people who absolutely love Trump. We didn't even really talk about, we all know the news. We all have the same, we all know. So you don't really have to talk about what you know with everybody. There was no need to. So we just drank. It was my first time in a private plane. And I was so amazed. I wasn't even afraid. And I was like, let's go. And I chilled out. And
She is
I don't even fucking know, bro. I don't.
definitely profiles to me as the kind of person who's super high maintenance about I'm so scared of this plane.
Yeah.
I think that's
Possible.
what she was kind of rolling in there.
Might
is-
need a Zanny.
Of just it was so cool being on the plane. I wasn't even scared. Like normally, I really grab tight to the person next to me, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so scared of planes.
And have you ever even thought about how does it even work? How is it just flying? And what if a bird crashed into us?
If my car has a flat, we're not gonna have 500 people dead.
So, and then especially because I was drunk.
I've never been on a private plane.
How
Actually, when I was a kid, like one of my parents' friends took us up in some like beat ass, janky ass beater. Does that count as a trip on a private plane?
No,
Okay.
that does not. Private
got to
jet
steer.
has got to be the what?
I got to steer the plane
Oh.
while I was in the air.
Steer?
Yeah.
Is that what you say? Fucking steer a plane?
I'm not a pilot, but you know.
Maybe you're right. That just sounds funny. Do you think that in 1776 or 1789 that they were like,
as they were bringing their country home from the hospital,
that they were like
looking into its beautiful, precious eyes.
I more mean like when some famous revolutionaries went to go do their bidding, that they were like, I mean, let's just not. We don't even really have to talk about anything that's causing us to go possibly. I mean, we all know.
That was kind of the thrust of the Constitutional Convention, the Continental Congress.
Let's just get all this shit out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we don't have to talk about it anymore. We all know we're on the same
Y'all
page.
read the news, okay?
Let's just get drunk and get on a private plane. The second one here I labeled "not here for speeches," which I think also is an interesting parallel to revolutions past.
Could you hear the speeches where you were?
We could, but we're not really interested in speeches. I mean, I can read tweets anytime I want.
I can read tweets.
I've heard so many speeches.
Fuck, ready to see a
so we
speech
really
for?
didn't come for the speaking. We came just to be a part of the crowd.
So you know, Rudy Giuliani used the term "trial by combat." Did
The
you
crowd
hear
for
him
the
say
speeches.
I did not. I didn't even hear him speak.
That? So that was. Did you hear the president's? The president spoke for a long time, about 70 minutes. Were you able to hear?
Okay. So we ended up. So whenever Eric Trump, I heard Eric Trump.
If you get
talking,
Eric,
and we were just kind of too far back, and there were no bathrooms. That was my main concern.
as it is
And
with
we're
all
too far back to hear
revolutionaries.
anything.
That was my
Literally,
main concern.
We know we can listen to this speech later if we want. We're not here for speeches. But there was a
TikTok.
guy with
She's
a
not gonna
wagon,
listen
and
to
you
it
could
later.
hear
Yeah.
President Trump speaking. And so everybody kind of gathered around the wagon. But I mean, I love President Trump, but I know what he says. He I get it. Yes, amen. Whatever he says, I love him. I believe he is for the people. I trust him with all my heart. And it's just like, okay, I heard that. And we walked on. So what did President Trump say? I don't know.
I mean, I will say, a lot of people disagree with me on this,
dumb.
but I think our political process should be controlled by people who, at base, find politics to be boring and unnecessary.
That was certainly a big reaction I had today watching my timeline. Like watching people treat this like it was, the new Avengers or, it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like none of you care about any of this, but you're just like, oh my God, I am moved to tears by the sight of the poet laureate.
I'm not here
Like, dude, give
to
him the
listen
password to the
speeches.
Dropbox.
Like, I've heard what President Trump says, and, I guess it's good, but, to be honest, it's a bunch of shit about tax. I'm bored.
Yeah. It's like, dude, just do the government.
This is...
Just do the governmenting.
I do love hearing this because I don't know I've heard it, stated so directly.
I'm becoming more of a fan of her with every cut.
But just, that... Every time... It's definitely whenever I went to the Trump rally, and any time that we sit through an entire speech, there are large swaths where I'm like, there's no way that they're... Trump will be up there, going on about, I've got those cattle prices lower... And I'm like, what the fuck do they care? The fucking Dallas audience.
Play Freebird.
Yeah, or the fucking Paris Accords. He's like, I did a great job getting us out of those Accords.
Do the wall thing.
Yeah.
Do the locker up thing.
Yeah.
This one kind of hammers that home too, because one part that you didn't hear at the beginning was when introed, she described herself as kind of a political pundit.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a comedian, political pundit.
Yeah.
So she's kind of trying to play like a
Who
satire
also
prey.
could not give a fuck about any of this shit that you are talking about.
Just wait and see.
Cry libs.
So we went back to the hotel, and then my friend said, then we watched as Pence accepted the fraudulent election, what we believe to be fraudulent. The fact that
Fraud.
I mean, I love Pence. And to see that, because I told everybody on Twitter, no way. Vice President Pence is going to stand up. And in our view, he had, even if he didn't have the power, he could have said something. And having watched all of the hearings and all of the election fraud, and not saying something. And I mean, I don't even know how the political system works up there because I'm not that in the know about that.
Fuck do I care?
I just felt like Pence should have said something. So we're
Not
at,
all
here
this-
when he didn't. When Mike Pence
Fat
didn't
cat,
say something.
fancy
when he
lip.
did it, I was in my hotel room and we were devastated. To me, it was like my dad just
Analogy.
somebody I love, somebody I respect, just betrayed someone else I love and I respect, including the country. I was so hurt that Pence, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Flabbergasted.
Yeah, it was
the
just.
word.
I love Mike Pence, and it was just like whenever somebody that I love betrayed someone else that I loved, which the shortcut of that is just to say, I felt betrayed. Like the economy of words and that analogy are not great.
If you can imagine it.
And she's like, listen, I don't know how that shit works.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was supposed to do. I don't know what he could have done. I just know
Rules.
I just know he didn't do anything.
When you see a
that made
wrong,
me
you're
happy.
supposed to correct it. That's
right.
what I know. I don't know all of your
Right.
legislation, regulation. I just know right from wrong, and the steal is a wrong.
Right. I'm a pundit and a comedian, and you didn't stop the steal. I don't know how all that shit. What are you gonna do? You gonna put on a robe? You gonna put on a wig?
I do love thinking about
Dork.
how they feel about Pence. And like prior to this, like not like the conflicted, like he is the VP of the greatest administration in time, but he didn't stop the steal. I just love thinking about whenever she had pure, unadulterated, like the uncut love for Mike Pence. That's a tough vessel to pour your love into, but they find a way.
Yeah. No, I just can't imagine anyone in his life has
Just
ever
a
been
big old
stoked,
block of salt.
just stoked on him before 6 years ago. He's like, this is pretty weird. I call my wife mother, and now people are chanting my name. So
Just having it, like any emotion about Mike Pence seems difficult.
Yeah.
The level of
Pence
emotion,
doesn't have
she's
emotion.
like, it's in her voice.
Right.
She's like, I love Pence. I love Pence.
Like
and the
my
way she's saying it,
father.
I buy it.
Yeah.
For like not even 2 seconds am I hesitating. Like she loves Mike Pence.
Yeah.
And that's wild to me.
So this fourth cut just deals with, if you put stuff on social media, it makes it a lot easier to get caught.
So you post in front of one of the broken.
In front of the broken window. And that is because, you want to ask me a question?
Yeah. Why?
Well, because I saw the window and I thought, oh my gosh.
I kind of know how this goes. I watch a lot of TV.
This is history and I can't believe it. I literally was stunned. It's kind of like, you have to look at it. Like you can't turn away. I was like, oh my gosh. And I'm a social media person. I like to share everything. And
Not overshare.
I've been sharing my photos of me
Tastefully.
all over DC. And I just took a picture. But I did not have any intention to say break windows.
Mm.
I want to ask you
at all.
that. What you wrote on the caption of that photo
Uh-oh.
was window
Was
at
break
the Capitol.
windows.
And if the news doesn't stop lying about us, we're going to come after their studios next. What
Well, that is a horrible thing. If I said that, I didn't say it right.
It's so Chris Hansen. I have the transcripts.
That's so fucking good, dude. Oh
Well,
god, I'm
if
a
I
peaceful
said that-
person. I don't know how anyone could possibly interpret that I went that we should go and break windows.
Well, what about the part where you posted a photo in front of a broken window and said we're going to break
Ma'am,
more windows?
Yeah, you said that you want to go
well,
break the.
that is horrible. And if I said that shame on me.
We are going
What
to
if?
conduct a full investigation to whoever said that, and they
Right.
will be punished. I don't think it was me.
Yeah, it's
But we are
OJ.
going to find out. We are going to find those real killers.
It's OJ, exactly. OJ, if I did it. It's Rick James with Charlie Murphy. It's Chris Hansen with the. It's just like, dude,
the common thing with
you know they have the fucking picture. Like, how dumb do you have to be to answer that question like that?
the kid does it all the time. There's a regular thing where Isara will, knock over her own water and then be like, I don't have any water, and I'll have to tell her that we're conducting a full investigation of who did this to the water, and punishment will be swift. Similar dynamic, except for this woman is older.
And facing charges. So again, probably shouldn't be answering any of these questions.
But I need it again. I assume,
sure.
I assume I need it again.
I want to ask you
At all.
what you wrote on the caption of that photo was window at the Capitol. And if the news doesn't stop lying about us, we're going to come after their studios next.
Well, that is a horrible thing. If I said that, I didn't say it right. I did not say that properly because I love my Capitol, and I did not break those windows. And I guess it was more of a figure of speech.
Okay.
But we're not going to go break the windows of the news, but we are going to make our voices heard. And,
by breaking
it may have come across improperly, and I apologize if it did.
But you were standing in front of a window that had not been figuratively, but literally broken.
And how is If I Said That working as a life raft?
I don't know. I think
as she's buffeted about in this sea.
So we get into a little bit more of that here with the term storm, because again, she live streamed like tons of this, and they have all of it.
But also, I wasn't there.
But if I did live stream that, so they continue to hammer her on her social media commentary.
As you're going up the stairs, presumably it's right before you get to the door. We're going to effing go in there, life or death. It doesn't matter. Here we go.
I simply was never going to go in there. I think everyone who knows me knows
We're
that.
going to effing go. Like, it's as black and white as could possibly be as they read it back to her.
I would never have wanted to go in there. You have to know me.
It's my figurative life or my figurative death.
Then on Twitter, we just stormed the Capitol. It was one of the best days of my life. Now, stormed the Capitol doesn't sound like, those aren't peaceful words. We're going to go life or death. Those don't sound like peaceful, benign words, the sort of scenario you're suggesting.
They may not sound like peaceful words, but I'm a very passionate woman, and I am a writer.
Oh.
So I say things that I feel in my heart.
Hell
and
yeah.
as far as storming the Capitol, if you look up the term storm, you can storm in the kitchen. You can storm in and say, no more. I'm not storming in to kill people. I'm not, what I meant life or death is if someone kills me, I will stand for my truth, even if someone kills me.
How's she standing for it?
You're dead. So, but I'm a writer. So you know how I get carried away as a wordsmith.
Was she mispronouncing realtor?
Well, she's a social media person, which requires you to write out your tweets.
That's what she means, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That's 100% what she means.
I'm a writer. I have a lot of tweets.
She also pays for 1 hour a week on 1190. That's how she's listed as a radio show host.
Wonderful to know.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because I kept seeing, I was like, radio host? Like, this must be some sort of like internet radio thing or something. No, she pays. And I think sometimes she talks realty. And sometimes she talks about, look, you can storm in the kitchen.
You have to stop the steal.
Okay, so
I'm a writer is so good.
We have one more left.
It is so good.
And the funniest thing about all this really is that the one time where she does anything approaching contrition is the one where she is having her tweet about breaking the news media studios read back to her. The rest of the time, she's sticking hard on the I did nothing wrong here. So I don't know what her better play. I mean, I can tell you what I would have done if I were her. This is what's the Freaky Friday type situation where all of a sudden I become her the day after. I do nothing.
I'd feel him up.
I don't want to. No, I wouldn't do that.
Sorry.
What do we have here? I would do nothing. I just think generally, if you don't want to go to jail, nothing you can offer publicly is going to help you. I think you can only hurt yourself. Now, you may be able to publicly help your realty business by upping the brand and aligning yourself with maybe a certain type of person who will now only use a Patriot Party realtor. By the way, maybe that's for tomorrow. That's a whole other deal I want to talk about.
Okay.
But as far as
Patriot
like,
Party realtors?
yeah, as far as a criminal case, I think this is all very bad for her.
It certainly sounds as if you were well aware this was an extremely volatile, dangerous, violent circumstance. If that's what you meant, that you were willing to stand up and be killed, it certainly sounds like you understood that this was not, this was not a walk in the park.
Well, if you want to put me on a skewer and skew me and put me in with people that did commit violence.
If you want to put me on the skewer and skew me like what people do with skewers, I guess you can do it.
Skew me. Skew me.
Listen, if you just want to read back things I've said, I guess we can do that.
If that's what the media is going to do.
What I'm telling you is I'm a good person.
Skew me.
I'm a writer.
Skew me
and I'm
up.
a patriot.
Skewed me.
Should I have to apologize for that? I say no.
Walk in the park.
Well, if you want to put me on a skewer and skew me and put me in with people that did commit violent acts, just because I'm saying give me freedom or give me death, that is.
If you want to call me violent because I'm calling for people's deaths, I guess you can, but I wouldn't.
Skew me up. Skew me up.
Term that is an American term of American revolutionaries.
Which
give me
one?
freedom or give me death is my mantra. And that's how I feel. And I'm not going to shut up. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to speak my heart. And if they want to put me in prison for being a MAGA supporter.
Run that back like 5 seconds. Something really weird happened where she tried to accentuate prison, but then somehow carried it over to supporter.
They want to put me in prison for being a MAGA supporter, then if you want to skewer me in the media and make me out to be a violent person because it fits your storyline, then,
Well, it fits the storyline, and also it's what you directly said.
Yeah,
those are the two big factors that we have going on here.
I think also it fits this federal case. So
I actually think this is a pretty
NBC.
Teflon defense. I like this. I think she's doing good. I mean, a lesser person would not have the guns nearly as blazing as she is, but she's kind of turning it as a mirror back onto the media.
Look, exactly, right? Like I'm a case study.
something that you're going to have to live with in your life, because I know my heart was to go there and let my voice be heard no matter what. And I stood on the steps of the Capitol and I did what I came to do. And I did pray.
Okay.
Oh, well, then, I mean, I suppose if all is well, that ends well.
I mean,
I did pray.
As the Crusaders will tell you, you can't do anything wrong if you pray first.
Yeah. So, anyways, I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did.
As it turns to religion, though, we do need to remember, as of today, number 1, Catholics back on top.
Yeah, but
We got the president.
The college football playoff.
We got the first lady. We've got the chief justice. We've got the speaker of the House.
John Roberts is a Catholic?
We've got Hunter Biden. Of course, dude.
That sounds like an extremely Protestant name to me.
That's true. That is true.
Like if I'm writing a movie, I would not have had that one.
No, you're right. It's
was Hunter
not,
there today?
Thomas O'Flanagan. I didn't see him. I just saw and was dismayed that I had to hear so much about the children of the second family.
Doug's kids?
He has a daughter that, was wearing some fashion stuff. And some people are like...
Dude, I feel like we did a good job getting through this whole podcast without making fun of people. Like, we had a small turn there, but like,
We haven't made fun of anyone.
I cannot believe that you people spent your time watching this. I cannot believe it.
And then you look at the daughter of the billionaire lobbyist, and they're like, like I stand this queen her jacket. He stands Azerbaijan as they attempt to murder the Armenian people. So let's keep it in perspective, folks.
Always remember, at some point, they're going to get some of our faves.
Yeah. No, he stands Uber's right to treat its employees like vermin because they're not employees.
Oh, no.
They're contractors.
A prop note.
But anyways.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
That's it for tonight. The high school special is next, so until tomorrow, for everyone who's been a part of this one, I'm
TC and Jake.
We do thank you for watching. Good night.